I woke up in a strange place. My eyes fluttered open, and bright lights blinded me for a moment. The smell of antiseptic filled the air, and I felt an uncomfortable heaviness in my body. Confusion washed over me as I tried to remember where I was and why. Slowly, the memories began to return. The surgery, the fear, the long talks with the doctors. I had been anxious for weeks, preparing for this moment. Now that it was here, I felt both relief and dread. I shifted slightly in the hospital bed, and pain shot through my chest. I winced, trying to take a deep breath, but it hurt too much. I looked around the room, taking in the pale blue walls and the various medical equipment that surrounded me. There was a heart monitor beeping steadily beside me, and I focused on its rhythm, trying to find comfort in its steady sound. After a few moments, I noticed someone sitting in the corner of the room. My mom was there, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when she heard me move, and her eyes widened in surprise. "Oh, you're awake," as she exclaimed, rushing to my side. "How are you feeling?" "Everything hurts," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. I tried to smile, but I could see the worry in her eyes. "That's normal. The doctor said you'd feel like this for a while," as she reassured me, her hand brushing my hair back. I closed my eyes for a moment, feeling the warmth of her touch. I wanted to sink into that comfort, but a nagging feeling of loneliness crept in. "Where's Dad?" I asked, my voice cracking. "He's in the waiting room. He'll be back soon," as she replied quickly, still glancing at her phone. I wanted to tell her to put it down, to focus on me for just a minute. But the words got stuck in my throat. As I lay there, I thought about my sister. She was adopted, and everyone always seemed to light up when they talked about her. She was a star athlete, always winning competitions and receiving awards. I loved her, but sometimes I felt overshadowed. I wondered if they'd be more concerned about me if I were a star, too. "Did you hear from Lisa?" I asked, my curiosity getting the better of me. I knew she had a big competition coming up. "Not yet, but I'm sure she's doing great," and my mom replied, her voice full of pride. I watched as she scrolled through her phone, likely looking for updates on my sister's event. My heart sank a little. I wished I could feel that same pride directed at me. "Can you tell me how she's doing?" I asked, desperate for a connection. "I want to know what's happening." My mom smiled distractedly. "I will, honey. Just rest. We'll talk later." She went back to her phone, and I felt the weight of silence fall over the room. I tried to stay positive. I reminded myself that I was lucky to have parents who cared. They had always been there for me during my health struggles, but today felt different. I felt like I was in a race of my own, and they had forgotten to cheer for me. As the minutes dragged on, I shifted in bed, trying to find a comfortable position. The beeping of the heart monitor was a constant reminder that I was alive, but I felt so far away from everything. I closed my eyes again, wishing for the pain to fade. Finally, the door creaked open, and my dad walked in. He looked a bit disheveled, as if he had just rushed over from somewhere. He smiled at me, and I felt a spark of hope. "Hey there, champ. How are you feeling?" he asked, his voice bright. "I'm okay, I think," I said slowly. "It hurts a lot." "That's expected," he replied, moving closer to examine the machines around me. "The doctors will take good care of you. You're in good hands." "Did you hear anything about Lisa?" I asked again, trying to keep the conversation away from my own discomfort. "Oh, she's at the competition right now. I just got a text from your mom. She's doing great, leading the pack," he said excitedly. I forced a smile, but it felt heavy on my face. I hope she wins, I said quietly, feeling a mix of pride and jealousy. I knew I should be happy for her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing out on something important. As they chatted about Lisa, I felt more like a spectator in my own life. The focus shifted away from me, and I felt that familiar loneliness creep in again. They were both so excited, but I was stuck here in a hospital bed, dealing with my own challenges. Let's talk about the surgery, and my dad said, turning his attention back to me. The doctors said everything went well. You're going to be okay. Really? I asked, a glimmer of hope sparking inside me. Yes. You'll just need some time to recover. You've been so brave, he praised, and I felt a small swell of pride. I'm trying, I replied softly, looking down at my hands. They felt so small and fragile, just like my current situation. My parents continued to talk about the competition, and I found myself zoning out. It was like I was there, but not really there. I wanted to shout, to demand their attention. Look at me. I'm here, too. But instead, I lay there silently, listening to their conversations while my own thoughts spiraled. After a while, they left the room to get some food, promising to be back soon. I was left alone, surrounded by the beeping machines and the smell of antiseptic. The loneliness felt like a heavy blanket on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, focusing on the rhythm of my heart. I tried to remind myself that I would get through this. But the nagging thought that my parents cared more about my sister lingered in my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling of being invisible. I thought about all the times I had cheered for Lisa during her events. I had always been there for her, but in this moment of vulnerability, I felt like I was being pushed aside. Hours passed, and I tried to rest, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. I thought about what life would be like after the surgery. Would I feel different? Would I be stronger? Or would I always be the one in the shadows, watching my sister shine? When my parents returned, they were full of energy, laughing and recounting Lisa's performance. She won her heat. She's moving on to the finals, and my mom exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. That's awesome, I said, trying to sound enthusiastic. It's amazing how well she did, especially under pressure, and my dad added, still buzzing with excitement. I wanted to feel that joy, but I couldn't. Instead, I felt small and forgotten. I tried to join in the conversation, asking questions about the competition, but my heart wasn't in it. The more they celebrated her success, the more isolated I felt. It was like there was a barrier between us, one that I couldn't break through. As they continued to talk, I looked out the window. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the hospital. I thought about how I had always admired the sunset, how beautiful it was, even in the midst of darkness. But right now, I felt like I was losing the light. Do you think I can go to her next competition? I asked suddenly, desperate for a way to connect. I wanted them to see me, to care about me just as much as they cared for Lisa. Let's take it one step at a time, and my mom replied, her focus still on her phone. You need to rest and heal first. I nodded, feeling a lump in my throat. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to be seen. That night, as I lay in the hospital bed, I felt tears streaming down my face. I thought about how much I had wanted my parents' support during this time. I wanted them to hold my hand and tell me everything would be okay, not just in a passing way, but with all their hearts. I closed my eyes tightly, wishing for things to change. I wanted to be strong and brave, like my sister. I wanted to be the one who made them proud, the one they cheered for. But right now, all I felt was pain, physical pain and the pain of being overshadowed. I was tired. Tired of feeling invisible, tired of watching from the sidelines. As the night grew darker, I fell into an uneasy sleep, hoping that tomorrow would be different. I longed for the day when my parents would see me, really see me, and realize that I needed them just as much as my sister did. Part 2. The competition. Days turned into a blur as I lay in the hospital, the bright lights above me flickering like stars in a distant sky. Each morning, I would wake up to the sound of the heart monitor beeping steadily, a reminder that I was alive, but I felt more like a spectator in my own life. My body ached, and I was tired of the sterile smell of antiseptic that filled the room. I longed for the comforts of home, for the laughter and warmth of my family, but it felt like I was miles away from that reality. Each day, my parents visited, bringing news of my sister's competition. They would sit by my bedside, their conversations often revolving around her achievements and the excitement of the upcoming events. I wanted to be happy for her. I truly did. But as they filled me in on every detail, I felt a deepening sense of isolation. It was as if the walls of my hospital room were closing in on me, and I was being left out of a celebration that I so desperately wanted to be a part of. Lisa has been training so hard for this, and my mom would say, her eyes sparkling with pride. She's such a natural talent. We're so proud of her. Yes, she's going to crush it in the finals, and my dad would add, clapping his hands together excitedly. I would nod along, forcing a smile even when it felt like a mask over my true feelings. Inside, I was aching for their attention, for them to turn their focus on me, even for just a moment. As the competition day approached, my parents became more anxious. They were constantly checking their phones for updates on the event, their faces glowing with excitement whenever they received news from friends or coaches. I watched them, feeling like a ghost in the room. I wanted to be part of their excitement, to share in the joy, but it felt like I was standing on the outside looking in. One afternoon, I gathered the courage to ask my mom, "Can you tell me more about how Lisa is feeling about the competition?" "Oh, honey, she's just so focused," and my mom replied, glancing at her phone again. "She's confident and ready to go. I think she might even break her own record." Her eyes sparkled with admiration as she spoke. I felt a pang of jealousy twist in my stomach. Why couldn't I be the one breaking records and making headlines? "Are you excited to see her compete?" I tried to sound enthusiastic, but I felt my voice falter. "Of course," and my dad chimed in, finally looking away from his phone. "We wouldn't miss it for the world. It's a big day for her." His words stung, a reminder of how I would be stuck here, unable to join in their celebration. The next day was the competition. My parents arrived early, their energy contagious. They brought me a small gift, a poster of Lisa in her sports gear, beaming with confidence. "We thought you'd like this," and my mom said, her excitement overflowing. I stared at the poster, forcing a smile. I appreciated the gesture, but all I could think about was how I wished they could also see me in a different light, the way they saw Lisa. "Good luck, sweetie," I said, my voice soft but sincere. I wanted them to know I cared. But as they rushed to leave for the event, I felt that familiar weight settle back onto my chest. "Will you come back and tell me everything?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. "Of course. We'll fill you in on all the details," and my dad promised, his voice cheerful. They hugged me quickly before dashing out the door, their excitement palpable as they left. Once they were gone, the room felt emptier than ever. I glanced around, taking in the sterile environment and the medical equipment that surrounded me. The beeping of the heart monitor was a constant reminder of my condition, but it also felt like a ticking clock, counting down the moments I was missing out on. With my parents gone, I had the room to myself. I tried to distract myself with the TV, flipping through channels aimlessly, but nothing captured my attention. My thoughts kept drifting back to my sister and the competition. I imagined the cheers of the crowd, the rush of adrenaline as athletes competed for glory. I wished I could be there to witness it, to feel the energy and excitement firsthand. As the hours passed, my mind raced with images of my sister. I thought about her training, the sacrifices she made, and how hard she worked to get to this point. I admired her determination, but I also felt a pang of envy. Would I ever have that kind of success? Would I ever be celebrated the way she was? Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I picked up my phone and scrolled through social media, hoping to catch a glimpse of the competition. I searched for hashtags related to the event, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. As I scrolled through pictures of athletes, cheering fans, and medals being awarded, I felt tears welling up in my eyes. Look at her go! I muttered to myself as I came across a video of Lisa competing. She was running, her form perfect, her focus unyielding. The crowd erupted in cheers as she crossed the finish line, her face a picture of pure joy. My heart ached at the sight. I wanted to be there, to celebrate with her, to share in that moment. Instead, I was alone in a hospital room, my body still recovering from surgery. Just then, the door creaked open, and a nurse walked in. "How are you feeling today?" she asked, her voice warm and friendly. "I'm okay," I replied, forcing a smile. "Just waiting for my parents to come back." "Still recovering, I see," she said, checking the drip next to my bed. "It's important to take it easy. You'll be back on your feet soon enough." "Yeah, I hope so," I replied. "I just wish I could be there with my family." The nurse nodded, her expression sympathetic. "I understand. It's tough to miss out on family events, especially when you're feeling well enough to want to join in. But think of this as a step toward getting better. Soon you'll be able to make your own memories." "Thanks," I said, appreciating her kind words. It was comforting to hear someone acknowledge my feelings. But deep down, I still felt a sense of longing. I wanted to be part of the excitement, not just an observer. Hours passed, and the waiting felt endless. Finally, I heard the door open, and my parents walked in, their faces bright with joy. "You won't believe what happened," and my mom exclaimed, practically bouncing on her feet. I sat up in bed, my heart racing with anticipation. "What? Tell me everything." "They both did amazing," and my dad said, leaning in closer. "Lisa won her heat, and she set a new personal record." The crowd went wild. "That's incredible," I said, my heart swelling with pride. I wanted to celebrate with them, to share in their excitement. And she made it to the finals. "They're saying she has a good shot at winning the whole thing," and my mom added, her voice filled with excitement. "We're so proud of her." "That's awesome," I exclaimed, trying to match their enthusiasm. But as I listened, I felt that familiar pang of jealousy rise up. It should have been a joyous moment, but instead, I felt like I was still being left behind. "She's so talented," I said, forcing a smile. "I'm really proud of her." "Thank you," my dad said, beaming. "We're so proud of both of you." As they continued to talk about the competition, I listened, but I felt my heart begin to sink again. I wanted to be a part of that pride, to feel like I was contributing to the family's achievements. Instead, it felt like I was still just a spectator, standing on the sidelines while they celebrated my sister's success. After a while, the conversation shifted back to my recovery. "How are you feeling?" and my mom asked, concern creeping back into her voice. I'm okay, just sore, I admitted, the reality of my situation settling back in. I wish I could be there with you both. Soon enough, you will be, my dad said, his voice steady. You're going to recover, and we'll be cheering you on just like we cheer for Lisa. I hope so, I replied, but the weight of uncertainty hung heavy in the air. As my parents shared more stories about the competition, I felt my heart swell with pride for Lisa. I was glad she was doing so well, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being overlooked. I longed for my parents' attention and support, especially now that I was facing my own struggles. The night wore on, and my parents eventually said their goodbyes, promising to return the next day. I watched as they left, their laughter echoing down the hall. I felt a lump in my throat as I lay back down, staring at the ceiling. Will I ever get my moment? I wondered. Would I ever be able to shine in the way my sister did? As I drifted into a restless sleep, I hoped for the day when I could step into the spotlight, not just as Lisa's sibling, but as someone worthy of celebration in my own right. I fell asleep dreaming of bright lights, cheers, and a life beyond the confines of my hospital room. I longed to break free from the shadows and embrace the light that had always seemed just out of reach. ## Part 3. The News. The sun rose softly the next day, casting a warm glow through the window of my hospital room. I awoke to the sound of my heart monitor beeping steadily beside me, a familiar reminder that I was still alive, still fighting. But instead of feeling gratitude for another day, I felt a gnawing anxiety in my stomach. Today was the day Lisa would compete in the finals, and I was stuck here, unable to share in the excitement. I stared at the ceiling, replaying my parents' enthusiastic recounting of Lisa's earlier success in my mind. They had been so proud, and I had done my best to share in that pride, but the truth was, I felt left out. My heart ached with longing, a desire to be part of the celebration, to feel the joy of victory, even if it wasn't mine. After a while, a nurse walked in to check on me. "Good morning. How are we feeling today?" she asked with a bright smile. "About the same," I replied, forcing a smile in return. "Just waiting for my parents to come back." "They'll be here soon, I'm sure," she said, adjusting my foredrip. "You're making great progress. Just remember to take it easy." I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. I was restless, anxious to hear how Lisa would do. I picked up my phone, scrolling through social media for updates. The hospital Wi-Fi was slow, and I found myself tapping my foot in frustration, waiting for the latest posts to load. Finally, I found a live feed of the event. My heart raced as I watched the screen, hoping to catch a glimpse of my sister in action. The commentator's voice echoed in the room, describing the atmosphere, the crowd cheering wildly as athletes prepared for their events. I felt a pang of envy mixed with excitement. I wanted to be there so badly. As the camera panned over the field, my breath caught in my throat. There she was, Lisa, standing at the starting line, her face a mask of concentration. I felt a surge of pride. My sister was incredible. She had worked so hard to get to this moment, and even though I couldn't be there physically, I felt connected to her in that instant. "Go, Lisa!" I shouted at the screen, my voice hoarse but filled with encouragement. I could almost feel the energy of the crowd surging through me, and I wanted to jump out of bed and join them. Just then, my parents walked in, their faces flushed with excitement. They had obviously come straight from the event, and I could see the sparkle in their eyes. "You won't believe what we just witnessed," and my mom exclaimed, barely able to contain herself. "What happened?" I asked eagerly, my heart pounding in my chest. "They were amazing," and my dad said, his excitement infectious. "Lisa made it to the finals, and she's ready to run." The energy out there is unbelievable. I just saw her, I said, pointing to the screen. I can't believe I'm missing this. My mom rushed to my side, glancing at the live feed. Oh, look at her. She's focused and ready to go. This is it. As the event began, I felt a rush of adrenaline. The runners took their positions, and the crowd roared with anticipation. I watched as the starting gun fired, and Lisa took off like a bullet, her determination clear in every stride. I leaned forward in my bed, my heart racing in sync with her pace. Come on, Lisa, I shouted, even though I knew she couldn't hear me. I cheered her on as if my voice could somehow reach her, bridging the distance between us. My parents settled in beside me, their eyes glued to the screen. She looks strong, my mom said, her hands clasped together. Just look at her go. As the race progressed, I found myself holding my breath, completely absorbed in the moment. The other competitors were fierce, but I knew Lisa had trained hard. She pushed forward, her legs moving like a well-oiled machine, her focus unwavering. I felt a mix of pride and anxiety, willing her to maintain her lead. She's in second place, my dad exclaimed, leaning closer to the screen. This is going to be close. I could see Lisa's determination etched on her face. She was pushing herself to the limit, the finish line drawing ever closer. The tension in the room was palpable. My heart raced as I watched, fully invested in her journey. The crowd's cheers echoed through the live feed, and I could almost feel the vibrations of their excitement. As they approached the final stretch, I felt a surge of hope. You can do it, Lisa. Just a little further, I urged, my voice breaking with emotion. I was on the edge of my seat, completely immersed in the moment. Then, in an astonishing display of speed, Lisa surged ahead. Go, go, go! I yelled, my heart pounding as she crossed the finish line. The moment felt like it stretched into eternity. As she crossed, the crowd erupted in applause, and I couldn't help but leap out of my bed, despite the pain that shot through my body. She did it. She won, my dad shouted, throwing his arms up in triumph. I could hardly believe it. I was filled with overwhelming joy for her. I wanted to share in this moment, to feel the victory alongside my family. Tears filled my eyes as I watched the celebration unfold on the screen. Lisa was being swarmed by her teammates, her face beaming with joy and disbelief. My heart swelled with pride, and I found myself laughing through my tears. Just then, my mom's phone buzzed, and she quickly glanced at it. Oh, we just got a message from Lisa. She wants to FaceTime you. Really? Now? I said, my excitement bubbling over. Let's do it, my dad said, already setting up the call. My heart raced as we waited for the connection. I couldn't believe I would be able to see her face, to share this moment with her, even if I wasn't there in person. The screen lit up, and a moment later, Lisa's face appeared. She was glowing, her hair messy from the race, but her smile was radiant. Hey! You guys! I did it, as she exclaimed, her voice filled with pure joy. Lisa! I'm so proud of you! I shouted, my emotions spilling over. You were amazing. I saw you run. Thanks. I can't believe I won. It's unreal, as she replied, her excitement contagious. I could see the medal hanging around her neck, shining brightly against her shirt. I wish I could have been there, I said, my voice tinged with longing. Next time, you will be, as she promised, her eyes sparkling. We'll celebrate together. My mom and dad chimed in, congratulating her and sharing in her joy. The four of us were connected, even though I was still stuck in my hospital bed. In that moment, the distance felt a little smaller, and my heart felt a little lighter. After a few more moments of excited chatter, Lisa's coach called her over, and she waved goodbye to us. "I'll call you later. Love you guys." "Love you too," we all shouted back, and just like that, she was gone, off to celebrate her victory. As the FaceTime call ended, I felt a mixture of happiness and melancholy wash over me. I was proud of her, but the reality of my own situation pressed down on me again. My parents turned to me, their expressions softening. "You did so well, sweetheart," and my mom said, taking my hand. "You were cheering her on like a champ." "Yeah, it's not easy being stuck here," and my dad added, his tone sympathetic. "But you were there in spirit, and we're so proud of you too." "Thanks," I replied, feeling a sense of warmth from their words. But even as I appreciated their support, I couldn't shake the feeling of being left behind. I was still recovering, still trapped in this hospital room while Lisa was out there living her dreams. The day wore on, and as the excitement of Lisa's victory began to fade, I found myself lost in thought. I wanted to be proud, to fully embrace my sister's success, but I couldn't help but feel overshadowed. "Are you okay?" My mom asked, her voice gentle. "I'm fine," I replied, but I knew I wasn't being entirely truthful. The truth was, I felt fragile. I wanted to celebrate my sister's victory, but it was hard to ignore my own feelings of inadequacy. "I know it's tough," and my dad said, his voice filled with understanding. "You're going through a lot right now. But you'll be back on your feet soon, and then you'll be able to make your own memories." I nodded, but the doubt lingered. Would I ever feel as accomplished as Lisa? Would I ever have my own moment to shine? Later that evening, after my parents had left, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The events of the day replayed in my mind, each moment tinged with a mix of pride and sadness. I thought about Lisa, about her victory and the joy it brought our family. I felt like a part of me wanted to bask in that glory, but another part felt lost in her shadow. Why can't I be like her? I whispered to myself, tears pooling in my eyes. I wished for the strength and confidence that Lisa seemed. Part 4. The confrontation. The following days dragged on, filled with a mix of emotions that swirled inside me like a storm. Lisa's victory had been celebrated widely. My parents seemed to float on a cloud of pride, their joy palpable and infectious. They talked about her accomplishments at every meal, in every conversation, as if they were part of her triumph. I wanted to share in that joy, to feel uplifted by it, but each mention felt like a reminder of my own struggles. I found myself alone more often, my thoughts becoming a heavy burden. The hospital walls, once a temporary refuge, began to feel like a cage. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was trapped in a shadow while my sister basked in the spotlight. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her winning smile and the gleam of the medal around her neck. It filled me with pride, but also with an aching sense of loss. One afternoon, I was alone in my room, staring out the window at the world beyond the hospital. I watched people walk by, laughing, chatting, and going about their lives. I longed to be part of that world again, to feel the freedom of being outside these four walls. Suddenly, I heard the door open, and my nurse walked in, a friendly smile on her face. "Hey there. How are we feeling today?" she asked, her voice cheerful. "I'm okay," I replied, though I didn't quite believe it. "Just tired of being in here." "I get it," she said, nodding sympathetically. "But you're making progress. Before you know it, you'll be back to your normal routine." "Yeah, I hope so," I murmured, my mind racing with thoughts. I wanted to believe her, but the fear of never returning to normal loomed over me. Later that evening, my parents came to visit again, bursting through the door with excitement. Guess what? We're planning a little celebration for Lisa's win. It'll be a family gathering, just the four of us, and my mom announced, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. Oh, that sounds great, I said, trying to match their excitement. But inside, I felt a sinking feeling. A celebration for Lisa, once again putting her accomplishments front and center. When is it? I asked, forcing my voice to remain steady. Saturday. We can't wait to have everyone over, and my dad said. It'll be so nice to celebrate as a family. Yeah, I'm sure it will, I replied, unable to hide the hint of bitterness in my voice. I wanted to be happy for her, but the idea of another event revolving around her made my heart ache. Are you excited? My mom asked, her eyes sparkling with hope. Of course. It'll be great, I said, even as doubt twisted in my stomach. As the week went on, the anticipation for the celebration grew. I tried to put on a brave face, but each conversation about the event only deepened my feelings of inadequacy. I felt like an afterthought in my own family, a ghost lingering in the background while the spotlight shone brightly on Lisa. On the day of the celebration, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. I wanted to support my sister, but I also felt a deep sense of resentment bubbling beneath the surface. My parents arrived, arms full of balloons and decorations, eager to set up the party. They were so focused on Lisa's achievement that they didn't seem to notice my growing discomfort. Look at all these decorations. Isn't this going to be fun? And my mom exclaimed, hanging a banner that read a congratulations, Lisa. Yeah, it looks great, I replied, forcing a smile. As they continued to prepare, I felt the tension building inside me. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to express how I felt. Can we talk for a minute? I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Sure, what's up? And my dad asked, glancing at me with a look of concern. Can we step outside? I suggested, feeling the walls closing in on me. My parents nodded, and we walked into the hallway, away from the festive chaos. I took a deep breath, searching for the right words. I need to talk about how I'm feeling, I began, my heart pounding in my chest. Okay, we're listening, and my mom said gently, her eyes full of concern. It's just that everything has been so focused on Lisa lately, I said, struggling to keep my emotions in check. And I'm happy for her, I really am. But I feel like I'm fading into the background. My dad opened his mouth to respond, but I rushed on. I almost died during my surgery, and I thought that would bring us closer, but instead, it feels like I'm just a side note in the family narrative. I'm still recovering, and it's hard to watch everyone celebrate without feeling like I matter too. Silence hung in the air, thick and heavy. My parents exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of surprise and concern. We didn't mean to make you feel that way, and my mom finally said, her voice soft. We're so proud of Lisa, and we thought you'd want to celebrate with us. I do want to celebrate, I replied, my voice breaking slightly. But I also want to feel seen. I'm struggling, and I wish I could share that with you. I had no idea you felt this way, and my dad said, stepping closer. We've been so caught up in everything that we didn't realize how it affected you. I just feel like I'm being left behind, I admitted, my voice trembling. I want to be part of this family, to be celebrated for my own journey too. My mom stepped forward, reaching out to take my hand. You matter so much to us, more than you know. We're sorry if it felt like we were ignoring your struggles. You've been through so much, and we should have been more aware. Tears welled in my eyes, and I felt a weight lift slightly from my chest. I want to be happy for Lisa. I really do. I just wish I didn't feel so alone in this. We can do better, and my dad promised. We want to celebrate you too. Your recovery is just as important as Lisa's accomplishments. I nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. It felt good to finally express my feelings, to have my parents acknowledge my struggles. Thank you for listening, I said, my voice steadier now. Of course, and my mom said, squeezing my hand. We're all in this together, and we'll make sure you feel included. As we returned to the party preparations, I felt a renewed sense of hope. I knew there would still be challenges ahead, but for the first time in a while, I felt like I was being seen. The celebration began, and as family and friends arrived, I made an effort to focus on the joy of the occasion. Laughter filled the air as we played games, shared stories, and watched Lisa bask in the admiration of her achievements. I cheered for her, genuinely thrilled to see her happiness. As the night wore on, Lisa gave a small speech, thanking everyone for their support. I couldn't have done it without my family, as she said, her eyes scanning the room. You all mean the world to me. I felt a swell of pride as she spoke. It was clear how much she appreciated the love and encouragement from those around her. As she finished her speech, she turned to me and added, and to my sister, who has been fighting her own battles, thank you for being my biggest cheerleader. I can't wait to see you back on your feet. The room erupted in applause, and I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. It meant so much to hear her acknowledge me, to feel like I mattered in her journey. I stood up, clapping along with everyone else, my heart swelling with love for my sister. The evening unfolded beautifully, with laughter, games, and stories shared among family. I found myself engaging more, feeling a sense of belonging that I hadn't felt in a while. My parents were attentive, ensuring that I felt included and celebrated. As the night wound down, Lisa came over to me, her face glowing with happiness. I'm really glad you're here. You mean so much to me, she said, her voice sincere. I'm proud of you, Lisa. You worked so hard for this, and you deserve every bit of the celebration, I replied, feeling a sense of unity between us. Thank you. And don't forget, when you're back on your feet, we're going to tackle the next challenge together, she said, her smile wide. I nodded, feeling a surge of hope. I realized that while the road ahead might still be challenging, I wasn't alone. I had my family, and together, we could navigate whatever came our way. As the last guests began to leave, I felt a warmth in my heart. The celebration had turned into more than just a party for Lisa. It had become a reminder of the strength of our family bond. I knew there would be more challenges ahead, but I also knew that we could face them together, lifting each other up along the way. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The shadows that had loomed large were beginning to dissipate, replaced by the light of understanding and connection. I closed my eyes, letting the warmth of the day wash over me, ready to embrace the future. With a newfound sense of hope. Part 5. A new beginning. The days following the celebration felt different, lighter. I could sense a shift within myself and in my relationship with my family. The acknowledgement of my struggles had lifted a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. The shadows that had once loomed over me began to fade, replaced by a flickering light of hope and determination. One morning, I woke up feeling more energized than I had in weeks. The sunlight streamed through my hospital window, warming my skin. I stretched slowly, feeling the tightness in my muscles and the ache in my body, reminders of the surgery and the long journey I still faced. But I refused to let that define me any longer. Today was the day of my follow-up appointment. The doctors would check my progress and, hopefully, give me the green light to start physical therapy. I could hardly contain my excitement. I wanted to reclaim my life, to break free from this hospital bed and take my first steps toward recovery. As I waited for the doctor, my mind buzzed with thoughts of what was to come. I envisioned myself walking again, feeling the earth beneath my feet, the wind in my hair. The image brought a smile to my face, and for the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely hopeful. When the doctor finally entered, he wore a warm smile that immediately put me at ease. "Good morning. How are we feeling today?" he asked, flipping through my chart. "I'm ready to get moving," I replied, my voice full of enthusiasm. "Glad to hear that. Let's see how you're healing," he said, conducting a quick examination. He checked my incisions and asked me about my pain levels. I answered his questions eagerly, feeling the adrenaline coursing through my veins. After what felt like an eternity, he finally looked up and said, "Everything looks great. I think you're ready to start physical therapy. It'll be challenging, but it's an important step in your recovery." A wave of relief washed over me, and I could hardly contain my excitement. "Thank you. When can I start?" "Tomorrow," he replied with a grin. "I'll arrange for a therapist to meet with you in the morning." "Tomorrow it is," I said, feeling a rush of anticipation. The thought of taking my first steps was exhilarating. I was ready to embrace the challenge. That evening, I called Lisa to share the news. "Guess what? I'm starting physical therapy tomorrow," I exclaimed, my voice filled with excitement. "Really? That's amazing," Lisa replied, her enthusiasm matching mine. "You're one step closer to being back on your feet." "I can't wait. I want to run again, just like you," I said, the image of us racing together flashing in my mind. "We'll make that happen. I'll be your biggest cheerleader," she promised, her voice filled with support. "Thanks, Lisa. I really appreciate it," I said, feeling grateful for her encouragement. "I want to do this, and I want you to be there with me every step of the way." The next morning, I woke up early, a nervous excitement thrumming in my chest. I took a moment to breathe deeply, reminding myself that this was a significant step toward reclaiming my life. As I dressed, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. When the therapist arrived, she introduced herself with a warm smile. "Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'll be your physical therapist. Are you ready to get started?" "Absolutely," I replied, my enthusiasm bubbling over. Sarah guided me through a series of gentle exercises, each one designed to test my strength and flexibility. I began with simple movements, lifting my legs, bending my knees, and even trying to sit up without assistance. Every small victory felt monumental. With each movement, I felt more empowered, more in control of my body. "Great job," Sarah encouraged, her positive energy infectious. "You're doing really well. It's all about taking it one step at a time." After the first session, I was exhausted but exhilarated. I had taken my first steps toward recovery, and I felt proud of myself. I couldn't wait to share the news with my family. Later that evening, I gathered everyone around. "I had my first physical therapy session today," I announced, my eyes shining with excitement. "That's fantastic," and my mom said, her face lighting up. "How did it go?" "It was challenging, but I'm already feeling stronger. I can't wait for my next session," I replied, beaming with pride. "Just remember, it's a journey," and my dad added, his voice encouraging. We're here to support you every step of the way. As the days turned into weeks, I continued my physical therapy sessions. Each time, I felt a little stronger, a little more like myself. I was determined to push through the pain and discomfort, fueled by my desire to walk again. Lisa often joined me for my sessions, cheering me on and offering her unwavering support. One afternoon, after a particularly challenging session, I sat on the edge of my bed, catching my breath. I can't believe how hard this is, I admitted, feeling a mixture of frustration and determination. It's tough, but you're tougher, Elisa said, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. You're making progress, and that's what matters. I just want to run again, I said, the longing evident in my voice. You will, as she promised, her eyes full of conviction. We'll train together. You'll be back on your feet in no time. As we talked, I felt a renewed sense of hope. I wasn't just working toward recovery, I was also building a bond with my sister that was deeper than ever. We shared our dreams, our fears, and our victories, creating a strong foundation of support and love. One evening, after another successful therapy session, I found myself reflecting on how far I had come. I remembered the uncertainty and fear I had felt when I first entered the hospital. Now, I was filled with determination and a newfound strength. That night, I decided to write in my journal. I hadn't done this in a while, but I felt inspired to capture my journey. I wrote about the challenges I faced, the moments of doubt, and the triumphs that made it all worthwhile. As I poured my heart onto the pages, I realized how important it was to acknowledge not only my struggles but also my growth. Days turned into weeks, and as summer approached, my progress continued to soar. My therapy sessions became more intense, and I began to incorporate more challenging exercises. With each small victory, my confidence grew. I could feel my body becoming stronger, my muscles more resilient. One afternoon, during a particularly tough session, Sarah turned to me with a grin. I think you're ready for something a little more challenging. What do you have in mind? I asked, my curiosity piqued. How about we try walking with a walker, she suggested. My heart raced at the thought. A walker? Really? Yes. It'll give you the support you need while allowing you to practice your balance and strength. Are you up for it? I'm definitely up for it. I replied, my excitement bubbling over. As Sarah brought in the walker, I felt a mix of nerves and exhilaration. This was a significant step toward reclaiming my independence. I took a deep breath, gripping the walker with both hands, and slowly lifted myself up. Take your time, Sarah encouraged. You've got this. With shaky legs, I took my first tentative steps. The sensation of moving, of standing on my own 2 feet, was both terrifying and liberating. I concentrated on my balance, focusing on each movement, and before I knew it, I was walking, slowly, but walking nonetheless. Great job. Keep going. Sarah cheered, her voice filled with encouragement. Each step felt like a monumental achievement. I was moving forward, quite literally, and it felt incredible. With every step, I could feel the fire of determination igniting within me. I was reclaiming my life, one step at a time. After that session, I rushed home to share the news with my family. You won't believe what I just did, I exclaimed, bursting through the door. What happened? My mom asked, her eyes widening with curiosity. I walked with a walker. I actually walked, I declared, my heart racing with excitement. Oh my goodness, that's amazing, my dad said, enveloping me in a warm hug. We knew you could do it. Lisa's eyes sparkled with pride. You're one step closer to running. I can't wait to see you take off. As the days passed, I continued to practice with a walker, gradually increasing my distance and confidence. My family supported me every step of the way, celebrating each small victory. I felt their love surrounding me, lifting me higher and higher. One sunny afternoon, as I practiced in the backyard, Lisa came outside to join me. "Want to race?" She asked, a playful grin on her face. "A race?" I echoed, my heart pounding with excitement. "What are the rules?" "I'll run, and you can walk with a walker. Let's see how far you can go," as she replied, her enthusiasm infectious. "Okay, you're on," I said, determination fueling my spirit. As we lined up for the race, I felt a surge of adrenaline. Lisa took off running, her laughter ringing in the air, and I focused on my own pace. With each step, I felt stronger and more in control. I might not have been as fast as her, but I was moving, and that was all that mattered.